You'd think the Beatles were coming to town. But all of this chaos isn't because of any boy band. It's due to what many people are calling the Second British Invasion, the worldwide explosion in popularity of BBC's hit drama Sherlock. This television show, inspired by the Sherlock Holmes crime stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in the 1880s and 1890s, has accumulated a fan base of astronomical proportions. The show's 2016 Christmas special alone was watched by 8.4 million people the night it premiered. In a sense, though, the popularity of the character of Sherlock Holmes is nothing new. Ever since Doyle breathed life into his famous consulting detective in the 1887 novel A Study in Scarlet, the world just never seemed to get enough of Sherlock. Spanning 4 novels, 56 short stories, a play, and innumerable films and television shows, Sherlock Holmes is the basis for all modern crime fiction of any medium. He has thoroughly permeated the human consciousness, ranking 3rd on the list of most recognizable fictional figures behind Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse. In terms of the impact he has had on the human imagination, Sherlock Holmes is the greatest achievement of the Victorian era. This short documentary seeks to explore the depth of that impact.
But what, or rather who, was the inspiration for Sherlock? How was this pop culture icon born? The story begins long before Doyle even considered being a writer. He began his professional career as a medical doctor.
While attending medical school at the University of Edinburgh, Doyle met Joseph Bell, a medical professor who had become something of a legend. Bell believed that the truth lay in the small details. In fact, he taught students to diagnose patients by observing them instead of asking them questions. Doyle was amazed at Bell's powers of perception. This man would become the inspiration for Sherlock Holmes.
It was here, in the building just behind me, that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote the majority of the Sherlock Holmes stories. Though he originally ran a medical practice at 2 Upper Wimpole Street in London, where the first 2 novels were written, his work really didn't take off until 1891, when he began submitting his stories to the Strand magazine publication. The world went absolutely wild for him. In the straight-laced culture of Victorian England, Holmes was something new. The developing genre of crime fiction up to this point relied mainly on coincidence to save the day. Holmes relied on what he famously called the science of deduction. According to Doyle, careful observation and keen intuition lay at the heart of Holmes' skill. By examining a person or a body and using clues he found, he could determine any number of helpful things to speed along a murder investigation.
Dear God, what is it like in your funny little brains? It must be so boring.
Holmes was brilliant. In his fictional flat here at 221B Baker Street, he and his companion, Dr. John Watson, solved crime after crime. They brought justice to the streets of London, all while battling Holmes' arch-nemesis, Professor James Moriarty. But Holmes was no traditional hero. He was arrogant, rude, reclusive, and sometimes even cruel. Even more shockingly, Holmes was a cocaine addict. He was, in short, flawed.
Holmes was never meant to be a paragon of morality. Though his abilities seemed superhuman, his weaknesses and flaws made him just as human as anyone else. This type of character was revolutionary. He wrangled the darkness in himself as much as the darkness in the criminals he faced. His style of reasoning, his character elements, and the structure of the Sherlock Holmes stories themselves inspired thousands of other detective characters like him, in books, television, and film. He defined a new type of crime fiction.
The literary world wasn't the only world that Sherlock had an impact on. He also made forensic advances well ahead of his time. Doyle created the idea for the forensic lab in his Sherlock Holmes stories, but it wasn't until 1910 that the first forensic lab was created. That was 23 years after Doyle created the idea for Sherlock. Sherlock's focus on footprint evidence also helped create gait analysis, one of the newest advances in crime scene investigation. He also was the first to use ballistic and toxicity testing. The policemen of Old Scotland Yard would have been lost without him, both in the fiction and in the real world of solving crimes. But the field of forensic wasn't the only world that Sherlock took by storm.
In 1899, William Gillette worked with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to bring Sherlock Holmes to the stage. On November 6th of that year, Gillette became the first man to play the consulting detective, and the entertainment world exploded. Sherlock Holmes holds the world record for the most movie adaptations of a single fictional character, appearing on screen 254 times as of 2012. Some of the most memorable performances include Jeremy Brett, who played the role from 1984 to 1994 in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes TV series. Basil Rathbone, who starred in 14 Sherlock Holmes films from 1939 to 1946, remains, for many, the quintessential portrayal of the character. More recent popular renditions include Robert Downey Jr.'s action-packed interpretation of the detective in the 2009 blockbuster Sherlock Holmes and its sequel, A Game of Shadows. However, the most wildly successful and recognizable revival of the character is, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch's performance in BBC's television series Sherlock. In 2013, when Series 3 of the show was released, it was sold to more broadcasters worldwide than any other BBC show. Licensed in 224 territories, including such far-flung locales as India, Taiwan, and Israel, it even beat out the insanely popular Doctor Who in its 50th anniversary celebration year.
Sherlock Holmes is 129 years old this year, but his popularity has never been higher. Every other January, actors Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, together with writers Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, gather here in front of this little restaurant, in front of this little wooden door, to bring the world of Baker Street to life. When they arrive, hundreds of adoring fans are lined up all along the street just hoping to catch a glimpse of the people responsible for keeping Sherlock's legacy alive. Actors and authors may die, but the character of Sherlock Holmes lives on. In terms of the sheer number of people he has impacted, inspired, and affected, he is the greatest achievement of the Victorian era. The game is afoot, and it's not going to be over anytime soon.